I know that I, like so many of you, like so many other people across this great nation, are I've been heartbroken and saddened at all the recent events in our society. The recent deaths of George Floyd and Ahmaud Arbery and Breonna Taylor and so much more. And so, as I sit there at night and I watch the news with my kids, I have a 15-year-old, I have a 7-year-old, I have a 4-year-old about to turn 5. It's really clear to me, and I can't speak for other people. I can always only speak for me. But what's clear to me is that history will look back at where we stood in this time, and I know that my kids, when little Leona's in college, 16 years from now or whatever it is, 15 years from now, 14 years from now, they'll look back at this time and this place, and they'll want to know where their father stood and where their mother stood. Our grandkids will want to know where we stood in this time. And, that's a tremendous thing to think about. And I know what it means for me is that I can't shy away from this moment. And I don't think any of us can shy away from this moment. It is time for a fundamental change in our societies. It's time for a fundamental change in the way that we do things. And I certainly don't have all the answers, but I know as for me and for my house and for the way that I do things, it's up to me to find every which way that I can have a fundamental change. It's important that we make statements, but it's really important that those statements lead to discourse, which eventually leads to action. And, I can say for me, I've tried to be honest and open with the guys on our team and with my friends, with my family. And, I think it's really important at this time that we engage and participate in this discussion on both times. When you're talking about something like racism, and I'm certainly no expert, I don't mean to pretend to have answers, but I have this opportunity to share what I think. If you want to fix this, you can't fix it from one side. We need to have a discourse. And I know as a white man, sometimes it can be daunting to talk about issues like racism. And to be quite honest, we can sometimes be fearful that if we say the wrong thing, that we could, be seen be seen a way that we don't really feel it. But we have to step up. We have to step up. I was telling someone earlier today, like I'm a big Bob Dylan fan, and so many years ago, he said, that he sang so eloquently, the times they are a changing, but you sit there and say, have they really? And if they haven't changed and it appears they haven't, when you turn on the news, then it's time for a change. And, as white men, as white women, as white people, we might sometimes feel afraid to participate in the discussion, but it's time for us to do so. And it's time for us also to do so by not telling our Black brothers and sisters or people of any ethnic group how they should feel. It's time for us to listen, and it's time for us to empathize, and in any which way that we can to engage and talk and find ways for that discourse to someday lead to action. I think so many of us know that like overt racism is easy to spot, and we see it and we know that it's wrong. We know that it's hateful, and we say, hey, I don't feel that way. But what's gripping our country is systemic racism. And to me, it must be rooted out at every turn. And that's all of our jobs, to admit that, we do see color. We do see differences, to not sit there and say, hey, we don't see that. It's there, and our society needs all of us at every turn to find ways to root it out. And I think, the first step, as I said, is discourse, is conversation, is listening, but all that has to someday lead to action. And I'll say this, I'm proud of our team. I'm proud of, the guys that have gone out and have used their voices, have used their influence to try to make change. Not all of us as one single person, we can't always make this huge fundamental change, but we can make small change. And whether it's guys in peaceful protests, whether it's guys out walking, whether it's guys turning to social media, whether it's guys out cleaning up the street, Reggie out cleaning up the streets of Louisville yesterday, I'm proud to be associated with those people. So, as I said, I never want to come across like I have all the answers, because I have very few. But I do know that as for me and my house and the things that I would like to see myself move forward, I want to look back sometime and have my kids and my grandkids say, my mom and dad, they were on the right side of history, and it's time for a change.